State tour today. We're coming to the close of the campaign, and the people tomorrow will be going to the polls deciding who they want to lead the executive branch of government for the next 4 years. For the last 2 years, I've been telling the people of Alabama exactly what I'm going to do and how we're going to do it. The bottom line is pretty simple, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to see country crossing open, you better vote for Ron Sparks. If you want to see it stay closed, you vote for Dr. Bentley. We need to educate our children in this state. We need to tax the gambling industry in this state. We need to put it in the Special Education Trust Fund. We need to put it in Medicaid. And this will also probably be the last change in a long time that the people of Alabama have an opportunity to vote for a candidate that feels about the lottery the way I feel about the lottery. Ladies and gentlemen, the price of a scholarship is becoming out of reach of an average student in the state of Alabama. I want to give those children hope. I want to start educating our children in pre-K. We're not educating our children in pre-K. So the bottom line is, do you want a leader? And I ask you to look at the two candidates. What has Ron Sparks been doing for the last 7.5 years? And what has Robert Bentley been doing for the last 7.5 years? For the last 7.5 years, I've been traveling the world creating jobs for Alabama. For the last 7.5 years, I've been fighting for farmers and consumers. I've been fighting for children. For the last 7 years, my opponent's been talking about Montgomery needs a bat and has not introduced the first piece of legislation on ethics. You know, my opponent talks about immigration, but he has not introduced the first bill on immigration. You know, my opponent has not mentioned the word education in this campaign. But let me tell you, folks, education's at a crossroad. The only thing he's mentioned about education is that it's going to be in proration. I can't imagine running for governor, thinking about education going into proration, and not trying to find funding to go into education to try to keep it from going into proration. I can't imagine running for governor knowing that Medicaid's in the trouble that it's in today, and not look for some source of funding to help Medicaid. So there's a difference between me and my opponent, as I told him in Tuscaloosa. You know, he always talks about how he believes the people need to have an opportunity to vote on particular issues. But time and time again, he never give the folks of Tuscaloosa an opportunity to vote on Sunday liquor sales. So how can you say one thing and do another? This campaign's about honesty. It's about telling the people of Alabama that when you get AEA money, that you got AEA money. Don't tell them you didn't. If you get gambling money in Alabama, tell them you did. Those are the things that I believe the people of Alabama. It's also about, this campaign is not about gimmicks. You know, he's run his campaign on two things. One is, I won't take a salary, but he took a 62% pay raise. The other one is a jobs bill, a 5,000 jobs bill that has not created one job. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a big difference between Robert Bentley and Ron Sparks. Do you want the same thing of doing nothing and saying no and not trying to find solutions to the problems? Or do you want somebody that will roll up his sleeves and reach across party lines and say, folks, the people of Alabama have elected us. It's our responsibility now to go to work and do everything that we can to educate our children, take care of our senior citizens, and build infrastructure from North Alabama to South Alabama and create jobs. Help industry, help small businesses grow by making sure the government don't saddle them with more regulations. Give them the same incentives that we give other industries that are coming into the state of Alabama. This campaign's about leadership. That's what I feel like I will provide. And I look forward for tomorrow. A lot of people want to talk about the polls. Let me tell you how I feel about the polls. If I was sporting around a 25% lead, knowing that my numbers were coming down as fast as his numbers have been coming down, I'd be concerned. The poll numbers that we look at within the last couple of days looks perfectly fine to us. We're right where we feel like we need to be to win this race. We feel like the people are going to come out in large numbers tomorrow, especially in Houston County. I really believe that the people of Houston County are going to come out and say, enough is enough. We want our jobs back. And we want a governor that would give us our jobs back. And if they vote for Ron Sparks, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Be glad to answer any questions that anybody has. I got Tom Edwards, Rhonda Chambers. I'm sure they'll be glad to answer any questions also.
So I asked the same question to Dr. Bentley. If you had 15 seconds to tell people why they should vote for you, what would you say?
15 seconds?
15-second elevator speech.
Because I've been working for the people for the last 7.5 years. I've been out in other countries. I've been working for the state of Alabama. It's not going to take on-the-job training for me like it is Dr. Bentley.
Dr. Bentley talks about one of his first things will be to call a special session on ethics reform. Mentioning the things you mentioned about his campaign, do you think that's, what do you think about that?
That is amazing that a candidate has, in one breath, says that education is going to be in probation, and the first special session you're going to call is going to be on ethics when our children are not getting educated. That ought to be enough. That ought to be enough to tell the people of Alabama where the candidate's hearts are. My hearts are with the children of Alabama. I am going to fight for the children of Alabama. My first special session will be the day after the inauguration to put these folks back to work at Country Crossing. That's what my first day in special session would be all about, is putting these folks back to work, and putting them back to work to where we can hopefully start charging a 25 to 30% tax rate and start putting that money in education and start putting that money in Medicaid. That's my first priority.